Ravin Gandhi. He is GMM Nonstick Coatings founder and CEO. Will be joining us next. Welcome now from Chicago, Ravin Gandhi. He is GMM Nonstick Coatings founder and CEO. GMM Nonstick makes all those coatings that goes in all those pans that we buy all around the world. His company is one of the world's largest suppliers of non-stick coatings, with products found on brands such as KitchenAid and Pyrex, and does business in the EU, in Mexico, and Canada. How does it fit with your experience in your employment situation? Are you finding it difficult to hire people? Are you having to increase wages? Are you increasing your employment?
Yes, I mean, it is a absolutely amazing, drum-tight labor market right now. What we typically hire for a lot in the States is very high qualified R&D people, because we do a lot of research. So I think the economy is unequivocally strong. I think that I am very nervous. I've been listening to all the use of the term Goldilocks economy for the last few minutes on your show, and I'm just kind of nervous that if things, go south, we're going to slow down a bit. And I'll also say, we have an operation in China with all the tariff talk going on right now. We have pretty much stopped hiring in China because so many of our U.S. clients have shifted their production elsewhere. So that's just kind of an interesting data point.
You're saying that some of your clients are shifting production elsewhere. What about orders as well? I mean, these are very fast decisions that are being made here in light of what is so far only small amounts of tariffs on a small amount of numbers.
Right. Overall, we are just above flat year over year. So the business as a whole isn't as great as I would expect. So we're having kind of a middling year. But a very interesting data point is that we have certain very large clients. These are multi-billion-dollar American corporations. And in some cases, they have reduced their spend to China by 30 to 40% year over year, which I just find to be amazing. And when you talk to them, they really cite these tariffs and Mr. Trump and all of this uncertainty and all this playing chicken. And it's fascinating for me as a tier 2 supplier to watch this geopolitical thing play out, directly in my industry, because like you said, these are fast decisions, but they really are making an impact at the margin. And I am very, very nervous that if this economy starts to go south because of this trade war or potential trade war, I mean, who knows what's going to happen.
Alan, that is fascinating. Is that spending that they can suddenly decide to reapply if indeed the trade tensions de-escalate, or are they choosing to spend it elsewhere?
Yeah, it depends how sophisticated they are. And the more sophisticated ones already have feet on the ground in other countries, and they're able to stand up manufacturing a lot sooner. So for the last year since Mr. Trump was elected, we've seen a lot of people who had huge spend in China look at places like India and Vietnam and Malaysia, Eastern Europe. I built a plant in India about 5 years ago, anticipating the fact that China was actually going to be too expensive. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't believe that China can be that expensive. But in some cases, it's far more expensive to make stuff in China in certain industries than even in America.
So, Alan, as an economist, what's the knock-on effect here? I mean, if a major multinational corporation decides to buy from India rather than China, does it really affect the overall global economy? Is it just displacing?
Well, it's not that elastic. And I think what we're seeing is the modern economy in a microcosm here. The complication of the supply chains. We saw after the tsunami and earthquake in Japan in 2011 how global supply chains were disrupted. That set GDP back, and a trade war, I think, could have an even much more significant effect. I'm curious, are you seeing an effect on prices already? Are prices of pots and pans at the store going up because of concern about tariffs on steel and the other inputs that are going into making these products?
I think the answer is yes. I don't think you see it immediately at the margin, but like you mentioned with supply chain, my company is a very integral part of that. And it's all moving towards places like Walmart and Amazon.com. And I think that prices are definitely going up. And I agree with everything you're saying. I think our president has made the political calculus that our economy is strong, and he's willing to potentially inflict some pain on us because it's good for him politically to hurt China. And I think it's okay right now, but man, if it really turns into a trade war, China has proven themselves that they are willing to let their people suffer for woefully stupid economic policies for decades. I mean, that's what China does. We don't do that in America. We have these elections every 4 years and, midterms every 2 years. And I think that if people start to say Mr. Trump did X and it caused the pain in the economy, I think it could be a huge political problem for him, and I'm sure he's watching that obsessively.
Ravin, I think the president might be making a slightly different calculation with respect to you personally. He's saying, I gave you money in a tax break, so it's okay if I hurt you a little bit on the trade side. How do you like that trade? From your point of view, where you sit, Is it a good trade for you?
No, I think that, look, entrepreneurs like me that started their businesses, I think there's a fiction that just because I get a marginal tax cut that I'm going to go buy a new machine. People like me, I have to buy new machines every single year. If I don't invest in my business every single year, I'm going to select myself for extinction. So I think that is a fiction, that just because I got extra money, I'm gonna grow more this year. I think that's not true. I will say the trade thing, I heard the word tsunami being used by the other guest. I completely agree with that. A trade war is just a woefully terrible policy from a tariff perspective. I mean, there's a saying, if you have a hammer, you can either use it to nail nails on the wall, or you can hit yourself in the face with it. And I think that Mr. Trump should stop, hitting the U.S. in the face with these tariffs, because I think it's bad for everybody. It shifts the demand curve to the left, and it's a lose-lose situation.
Do you think it costs him in the election, Ravin?
Now, that's above my pay grade, but I think that there's a lot of people in this country who love what this president is doing. And I would say that it's more of an emotional reaction. He gets 50,000 people at those rallies, and he's so good at creating a bad guy and blaming someone and saying, yeah, China's bad. And I think China does, they're not a great actor in a certain sense, but Mr. Trump just has that brilliant, almost genius-like ability to rile up a base, from a demagoguery perspective, and it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, some of that base is in the firing line at this point, though. Alan Kruger of Princeton University and Ravin Gandhi, GMM Nonstick Coating CEO, both thank you so much for joining us.